I will call to order the Haywood County Board of County Commissioners meeting for January 2nd, 2018, and ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And we'll ask our Reverend Patrick Womack to come give the invocations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you all. Let's pray. Our God and Heavenly Father, we praise you, O Lord, and thank you for the opportunity to meet on this cold morning to conduct the county's business. We pray that you'll bless these commissioners with wisdom and discernment to make the decisions that are before them, even as we thank you for the privilege and opportunity to participate in a free government. O Lord, bless us that we may remain free. And Father, as we do, we thank you for the privilege of serving the people of this county. Grateful for all of those that you've brought to us. May we be faithful to them, to you, to our calling. We pray in your name. Amen.
Okay, the first matter of business this morning is a request for public hearing on January 16th, 2018 at 5:30 in the historic courtroom of the historic courthouse, Waynesville, North Carolina. That's this courthouse, Haywood County Courthouse, for economic grant of incentives on investment of $17,548,907 by Evergreen Packaging as part of the Jobs, Maintenance, and Capital Development Agreement. All right. So basically, that's a hearing that we'll have on that particular date, according to the agreement that we have in the investment incentives grant. If a company makes a new investment of capital into the county, there is part of the incentive for them to do so is a drawback, I guess you could call it, for some of the taxes they have paid, and we'll have a hearing to determine whether we're going to accept that on that particular date, and that's a hearing for the public to attend to see if they agree or disagree with that.
Mr. Chairman, I can add just a little bit to that. That's back as pertaining to the natural gas expansion of the boilers and all at Evergreen that we worked on about a year and a half ago, a couple of years ago with they're getting the JMAC grants through the state of North Carolina, and they're doing about a $50 to $70 million remodel or investment down there, and this is just part of the ongoing situation.
All right. David, would you like to add anything to that before we close it up?
Really bizarre accident there. Excuse me. As Mr. Sorrells was saying, back in October of 2014, the county agreed to participate in the JMAC grant. At that time, our agreement was for incremental tax grants or incentives, as you may hear two different terms for that. And what the Evergreen folks have done was they have added to the boiler system there for the Evergreen facility. They've gone away from being coal-fired or wood-fired to gasification there. So we have met, Chip and I had a phone call with the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and at that time they recommended that we go ahead and proceed with the JMAC requirements, where we would give a 50% grant back for them. And part of the statutes that were required for the economic development is that we do have to have this public hearing. And so I respectfully request for the public hearing at the next meeting for that as well.
Okay. Any other discussion about that? Or if not, then we will set for public hearing that matter on January 16th, 2018 at 5:30 in this courthouse right before the
thank you.
Right before our meeting. Thank you. Next is public comment session. Brandon, got any? I'll have public comment. That's not constituent concerns. I don't have anybody signed up for public comment this morning. Anyone like to speak?
It's too cold.
Yeah, I know. That's right, Mike. Then next is constituent concerns. Do you have any of those?
No, I had a few, and Mr. Mashburn and myself took care of those, so that's all I've
All
done.
right. Bill?
I don't have any, besides cold weather, not much we can do about that.
No, sir. Kevin?
I just wanted to, I see Stody's here, and I wanted to thank Stody for his service. I guess this will be the last commissioners meeting that you'll be here. I was at a holiday dinner, and there was a district court judge there and was bragging on Stody and how she was going to miss him because he had really helped her in some of the court cases and things that they have to deal with. So it made me appreciate all Stody's done for the county, and I just want to say thank you for what you've done for the county. And I know what you've done for our community. Buncombe County, there was also some Buncombe County people there, and I wanted to tell them that they stole one of our employees again. But anyway, they didn't. But anyway, I just want to say I appreciate Stody, and I know that we have some big shoes to fill for him. And but there are people in the community, Stody, that are going to miss you. So I just want to let you know that.
Mike?
Just getting through the cold weather. That's
Yeah, no kidding. All right, and Stoney as well. I appreciate what you've done as well, Assistant County Manager and Department Head of the Department of Health and Human Services. All right, next we'll move to administrative agency reports. Ms. Foreman could not make it this morning. She had some automobile issues and is not able to make it, so we'll place the Valia Health update on another meeting. Next, we have Judy Hickman coming forward, our tax assessor, for an update on Board of Equalization and Review for 2018. Morning, Judy.
Good morning. I'm requesting approval for the advertisement to accept applications for our 2018 Board of Equalization and Review.
Okay, and so we have not advertised, I guess, in the last couple of years, Judy?
Correct.
And I think most of our folks have rotated, would rotate off. I don't know if they're eligible for actually to be appointed again, but it's probably good for us to advertise for those positions every now and then. That's a pretty important board where the board values and takes a look at the requests for changes in valuations of persons' property each year. And I believe that only one commissioner now can sit on that board.
That's been our past practice for the
Okay.
last few years.
And I think the North Carolina, there's been I think there's been
I think they'd rather commissioners not be
Right.
at all.
yeah, I think that, hadn't they made that recommendation that we don't sit?
Too.
Okay. All right, so Judy, what do you need from us to advertise for that?
Just your approval.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion that there be an advertisement for members to sit on the Board of Equalization and Review for 2018.
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and that passes unanimously. Thank you, Judy.
Judy, let me ask you a question before you walk away. How many people are you going to need?
I'm sorry?
How many people are you going to need?
There's 5 board members.
Oh, so all 5? Well, okay.
Yes,
And how long of a term is that, a 1 year?
it is.
Okay, all right,
It
thank you.
usually goes till December 31st.
And do they need to come see you?
I believe the applications go to Candy.
Candy, okay, good deal. I've got a few that wants to come and see you. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we have had as many as 7 on that board, too. So.
We've always had a couple of alternates.
Alternates, 5 plus 2.
Yeah, I believe 7's working better, so we can have 5 usually.
Okay, next is discussion adjustment to agenda. Anyone have any changes or adjustments to the agenda this morning? If not, we'll move to the consent agenda, which is request approval of 2018, 2017, or December 18th, 2017 regular meeting minutes. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to those meeting minutes? If not, we'll move to budget amendments. Julie Davis, our finance director. First one's general fund, Health and Human Services Agency, environmental health, the $16,000 grant for integrated mosquito and tick management. We won't be thinking about that much today, will we?
No, we wouldn't today. Good morning.
Morning.
We have a grant from the Division of Public Health this morning for $16,000, like you mentioned. In addition to that, we have our public health director here and someone from environmental health that can tell you a little bit about this grant and why it's so important that we have it here in Haywood County.
Okay. Morning, Garen.
Morning, Commissioners. Last year, we received $19,722 from the state's Division of Environmental Health and Human Services, the Environmental Health Branch, to do a startup program to be one of 10 counties across the state doing mosquito and tick surveillance. We were only one of 2 counties in the West, including Transylvania County, participating in this program. This $16,000 that we're receiving now will be for this year's continuation of that program. With the money last year, we were able to build a lab at our office that includes microscopes, laptops. We had refrigerators, chill tables, various traps, and educational materials. We also were able to use the money last year to set up traps across the county using CDC light traps, using carbon dioxide, and using BG Sentinel traps with human skin lures to collect the mosquitoes that this year we'll be putting into a database along with other counties and other states that will report to the Center of Disease Controls. This will allow us to monitor mosquito movement across the southeast and look for possible outbreaks of diseases. Last year we found 2 main mosquitoes, Aedes albopictus and Aedes triceriatus, or the treehole mosquito. These 2 are vectors of La Crosse encephalitis. People think of diseases from mosquitoes being closer to the warmer areas of the coast, but North Carolina, most of our human-related diseases are from here in the mountains, including La Crosse encephalitis, which is more prevalent in children under 16. It affects the brain, causes swelling, and a case from Western Carolina, or a study from Western Carolina University determined that the costs of caring for these people could be anywhere from $48,000 to $3 million for their lifetime. So with this money this year, we'll be able to act as a center of expertise. So if other counties had outbreaks or had issues with mosquitoes, we would be able to partner with those counties to go in and set up traps and do surveillance and guide them on how to manage any issues that come up. We will be able to send mosquitoes to one of our partners, Dr. Brian Bird of Western Carolina University, for his students to use in identification. And we'll be able to send eggs to Dr. Stephanie Richards of Eastern Carolina University for insecticide and pesticide resistance testing. With these funds this year, we plan on purchasing large amounts of insect repellents to give away to our public for free. We'll be working with the Haywood County Health and Solid Waste Awareness Ordinance to look at properties that have large amounts of solid waste that could be breeding mosquitoes and enforce that with the program. We'll be also collecting ticks with our on-site staff that we will be able to send off and have tested for possible Rocky Mountain spotted fever and Lyme disease, 2 diseases that are endemic here in Haywood County. We will be reporting all of our funding to the state's entomologist, Mike Dole, for his review on our program, and should receive more funds come July to continue the program past this point.
All right, Commissioners, have any questions of Garen about that?
Thank you.
All right, that was a very thorough report, Garen. We appreciate it. Next is another budget amendment for the Sheriff's Office for 4 new deputies, $102,772, and that is a federal COPS grant.
Yes, this is the budget amendment for the grant that y'all approved last meeting. where for a number of years, 4 years, I believe, the federal COPS grant program is going to pay a portion of some deputies in Haywood County. It's going to allow them to hire, I believe, 4 deputies. This year, we are starting that program. We're starting it in January, so we only needed to budget 6 months' worth of that program. And you'll remember also there was a match. It's about a 20% match. This doesn't, the math doesn't exactly equate to 20%, but this was the budget that was submitted that was approved by the federal COPS grant. So we're putting the $102,773 into the sheriff's office so he could hire the deputies. And we're taking the match that looks like will be $16,032 just for this 6 months of this year. We're taking that from contingency in the general fund.
All right, Commissioners, have any questions of Julie about that? This was the matter, we discussed this at the last meeting.
The last meeting, there was the grant award. There's an award letter that when everybody signs it, we'll get this posted. But this is the one you approved last meeting.
Okay, and I know Chief Deputy's here if we need to ask him any questions, but I don't know that we necessarily need to. You have any questions about that? Yeah, we talked about it. Okay. All right, and that is the last item of the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and that passes unanimously. We do not have any old business. The first item of new business is request approval of agreement for purchase and sale of real property from Landmark Asset Services Incorporated in the amount of $225,000 for the purchase of the historic Haywood County Hospital located at 1230 North Main Street, Waynesville, North Carolina. David Francis, Program Administrator. David?
Commissioners, before you is an agreement for purchase of sale of the real estate of the historic Haywood County Hospital located at 1230 North Main Street by Landmark Assets. We worked with Landmark back in 2016 for the low income tax credits. This is in the same channel that we worked with them before, except we are in the adaptive reuse pool as opposed to the larger pool for just LIHTC credits. So what this does with the adaptive reuse, it gives us 2 bites at the apple to try to get the LIHTC credits. So if we don't succeed in adaptive reuse, then we have a chance to go back in the larger pool as well too. Presently, two projects are chosen in the adaptive reuse each year. So we're going to, start in that pool, and then we'll move to the other pool with that. So we're still at the will of the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency and their selection process, but at least we have 2 opportunities with this. So the agreement for the purchase of the real property is for $225,000. When we advertised for adaptive reuse bids back in November, we received 2 offers. This was the better of the 2 offers. Mr. Mashburn and I worked with Landmark. We actually got the initial bid up $25,000 from their initial offer, and so that $225,000 is reflective of the new bid amount that they offered after we negotiated with them. So if we are successful in obtaining the award, that will be in September of 2018. The Landmark has the opportunity, at that time, the agreement fully kicks in. They are to put another $7,000 down at the time the awards are met. If they ask for any extension past that, it's another $7,000. One thing we wanted to be sure of is that if we are going down this path, that they wouldn't be able to back out because of doing with all the moving parts that we have with the school board residing in the front part of the building, that we need to make sure that we are locked into this project to where we can start negotiating with them about their potential move out of the building. So this agreement is reflective of everything that we have discussed with them. Chip has reviewed the offer or the agreement at this point that they have in turn signed as well as too. So, and I have some other updates for you if you want to hear those about the project as well too now.
Sure, go
It's
ahead.
not, okay. So as we discussed back in November when we do this, that we are simultaneously going to be looking at different projects for the hospital. One is that we would potentially look at demolishing the 1952 and the 56 portions of the building, which is the back of the building there. So Mr. Mashburn and I have a meeting scheduled with a demolition team later this month. We are also potentially working with the town of Waynesville on doing the same similar project. Us going in together. Town of Waynesville has a housing authority already set up. So we want to explore that avenue to where we could redevelop this property between the county and the town to be able to do affordable housing together with that. So we're exploring those options. And then right before Christmas break, I also received a phone call from a nonprofit who may be interested in a portion of the building that would not be interested in all of that. And so we're going to pursue those talks with them to see how far that they go. So we're working on all those at the same time. So if something happens or doesn't happen at September 18, we have other ways to move forward with the building that we need to.
I got a question.
Sure.
And maybe I'm misunderstanding, but we got a tentative closing date of September 15th, 2019 here.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll
Yep.
know by September 2018?
We'll know for September 18, yeah. So they have several moving parts that once the tax credits are awarded, then they have to go out into a pool and get those credits. They shop those credits around, and then a potential buyer or somebody with bonds comes back and buys those credits from them.
Okay,
as
so
well.
so basically what you're saying is September of 2000 this year,
Well-
they should know something, and then then the next year's try to get all their
That's correct.
financing and stuff
That's
together.
correct, yeah.
But if they don't have anything by September 2018, then that's when we pursue with some of these other things that you're talking about.
That's correct, sir. That's correct, sir.
Okay.
The only thing that may be different on this is they may potentially need a loan from us due to the way the historic tax credits are still flushing and fleshing out from the tax plan that was passed at the end of last month. So they'll make those applications to the state and to the feds in February, but it is a loan. It will not be a gift. As if you remember from the last one, it was a gift back, but this will actually be a loan that we would pursue. And we don't know what that dollar amount will be until everything gets passed down.
Their plan is to do a 51-room affordable housing
Yeah,
unit. Is that-
51 units. It's a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom, about 33 1-bedroom, and the other 18 being the 2-bedroom. There's no 3-bedroom in the plans currently as it stands right now.
Just trying to plan ahead.
Yeah. That's why we just don't want to sit, So hopefully by this time next year, if this doesn't work out, we've got another plan to move forward with.
Right.
Well, it'd be our hope that we could revitalize the hospital and continue to use that since it's an historic hospital. However, it's costing the county approximately $6,000 to $7,000 a month to maintain that property. So we can't just continue to do that if we can't find someone to revitalize it and restore it. So that's why we're moving down 2 paths. One, to enter into this contract, and 2, also looking at the cost of demolition at the same time. So in order that if they do not get these tax credits, we can move on after September 18th of this year. All right. Any other questions? Any more comments?
No, it's just that it's time. Chris and I went to show the building last month, and I hadn't been in there since the spring of 17, and it's deteriorating. An empty, anything's worse than an empty building, and nobody taking care of it.
And I'm amazed if you let something sit,
Yeah,
how fast it goes downhill. Anything,
Yeah.
really.
but it's
If they get those tax credits, by this September of this year, pretty much then that will almost assure us that it'll probably work and they'll move forward.
It will work, yeah, it will work. Because that was one of our concerns, that they get the tax credits and they back out. that they, said this is their business, we're not going to back out, once we went through all this, because they have about anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 of money they have to put up. The application alone is $5,000. They have to hire outside consultants that works on the, knowing what the rents and the tax credits will be. That has to be submitted part of the application, which is anywhere between, $5,000 to $7,000, and then just all the other ancillary things to get the project going. So they actually have, some skin in the game, so to speak, as well too. But that's why we upped the extension amounts to $7,000, to where, the buy-in, was greater than what we originally had discussed.
As we've discussed in the past, initially, both of these companies offered options to us. This is not an option. This is a binding contract with conditions, so it's consistent with the statute that deals with private sales of real estate. And I want to make that point. It doesn't mean they can't get out of it, but if they get the tax credits, then one other thing that they'll have to have time to do is arrange for construction financing also, and construction loan after the credits are all approved.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement for purchase and sale of real property from Landmark Asset Services in the amount of $225,000 for the purchase of the historic Haywood County Hospital, seen as the contract is attached as Exhibit 5 today. Or attachment 5.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and that passes unanimously. Next, we'll move to request approval of Haywood County social media usage policy. We have Joey Webb with us this morning.
Good morning.
Joey?
I brought the proposed social media use policy for your approval. Basically, what we're looking at, we already have several social media pages that have been really successful in the county. The Sheriff's Office has a page that they are able to send a lot of crime information and awareness information to citizens, and they receive a lot of tips through that. Also, the library and the recreation departments have it, and they've been advertising their public events and seen a lot of success there. We've had a lot of requests from other departments to do the same, so we felt like there was a need for some framework and some guidance to keep consistency between those pages. So what this document does is provide that framework. Pretty much everything in there is pretty standard for government pages. We've done a lot of research with other counties, and this would not be a replacement to our website, but would supplement that as another conduit to send information out to the citizens. We will not be doing public comments and not creating any type of forum through these. It'll just be pushing out information. Dealing specifically with Facebook and YouTube, we have spoken with the departments that already have a page to make sure that this new policy wouldn't hinder their pages in any way, and we've addressed any concerns they have.
We're just putting the information out.
Yes.
And stuff. People won't be commenting.
Except for the sheriff's department, is that right?
Correct. The sheriff's office, there is a provision for the sheriff's office to still get public comments, and that's due primarily to the fact that they've been using that a lot for receiving tips. And if you've used Facebook or seen their page, you'll see a lot of pictures of suspects from crimes and those kind of things, and people will share information. So we did not want to hinder their ability to receive those tips. So they do have an exclusion from the comment section, and they've agreed to moderate that very heavily to make sure it's not abused.
Okay, so for the public, what sites is the county going to be involved in?
There have been several requests. This policy would require that the requests be approved by the county manager's office, and that they would be consistent with all the other sites. We have several departments that, like I say, have expressed interest in that. Facebook doesn't exactly allow you to have one big site with sub-sites underneath it, but you can link between them. So this would just be each department that was approved to have one would have their own page, and they would be responsible for the content on that. We will archive all those postings and those pages for public record retention, and we have a mechanism already in place to do that. But they would be able to have their own page and be able to send out information. A lot of the information can be sent out automatically. We've been using YouTube, as you're aware, for your videos for a couple of years, and that's worked out really well. But we have an application that allows those YouTube postings to automatically push out to Facebook, and it allows a lot of the stuff from our website to push out automatic. So it doesn't require as much maintenance from the departments. It's not something that we would need additional staffing to maintain or anything like that. It's just another conduit to send out that information to try to reach more citizens.
Joey, I think I read in there, the director of each department will be responsible
Yes.
for managing it more or less, is that
The
correct?
director or their designee would actually post the content. The IT department will help moderate that as well. We'll be involved in that pretty heavily, but it's ultimately up to the director to apply for a page and to take care of the content on that page, or whoever their designee would be.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions or comments by anyone? Mr. Mashburn, Chip, commissioners? David? Okay.
Thank you,
All right. Then I'll entertain a motion that we approve the new Haywood County social media usage policy as presented by Joey Webb, our Assistant IT Director.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Next is request authorization for the county manager to hire and make adjustments within the range of county salary grade order listing. Currently, our policy on hiring rate and starting pay under Article 3, Section 4 says that the county manager can authorize additional adjustments up to a maximum of 10% above the entry-level rate may be made at the discretion of the county manager. So that is the policy right now, and he cannot make adjustments in pay within the specific pay grade. So we've had some discussions about this, at least the county manager and I have, in regards to changing his ability to make adjustments in salary within a particular pay grade. You know, if the pay grade starts out at X and ends in Y, instead of just making if someone's at X, he can only make an adjustment up to 10% within that pay grade, as opposed to making a change within the pay grade between the entire pay grade from X to Y. And I think that the county manager ought to be able to make adjustments within that pay grade level. Can't move a person to another pay grade, but can change the pay grade he can change the level of pay for that person within that pay grade level. Does that make sense? Like if you're a pay grade level, give me an example of one of the pay grade levels.
Well, there's like a pay grade 64 would be
Okay.
some.
So if you're in pay grade 64, and 64 is,
What range?
say
maybe a
64 is
40.
70,000 to 80,000, then he can make an adjustment between 70,000 and 80,000 instead of just 10%
10%
of
of that,
70,000. Or, 50 to 60. Does any commissioners have any problems with changing our policy to reflect that?
Might be the difference, Joel, of being able to hire somebody or not hire somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
And that's the reason it's in here, is because when you get into negotiations with a person to fill a position, and many times if you've got a person that comes from a background that has greater experience, that would actually qualify them for a higher grade level or a higher level within that grade, that's not possible for the manager to be able to do. The department head has a little bit of flexibility, the manager has a little bit more flexibility, but the maximum is 10% from the hiring rate. And that creates some issues from time to time when we're trying to hire the most qualified person for the position.
I assume this is consistent with your background and experience?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we're only talking about the range in that particular pay grade, correct?
Correct.
So,
That's right.
Yeah. So if it starts out at this level and can be up to here, then you have the ability to fall in there wherever, depending on what needs to be done.
Right. If it goes outside the pay grade, then it comes before the
back
Board
to
of Commissioners.
Correct.
Just, Joel, is that generally what you did in Forsyth? I mean, what county was you, I'm sorry.
Iredell.
I'm sorry.
Yes. All the places that I've been to before, the manager always had the flexibility to
Oh, okay.
move within the pay grade. County commissioners establish when you adopt your pay and classification plan, you establish what the minimum and the maximum is for that range or for that pay grade. But then all the places that I've been at, the manager has always been able to, based on the qualifications of the individual applying, in order to make sure that we get the most qualified person for the position, that the manager has, without delaying the process longer. And many times a delay could have an impact on whether or not you're able to get the person that you want to try to get. And again, that decision, the manager's decision would be made on the experience and the qualifications of the individual that's being considered for that position.
And this is not something that authorizes him to provide incentives, like we've heard about in Buncombe County. This is just changes within the pay grade.
I was thinking.
Yeah, we won't let that happen.
We're allowing the county manager to manage is what we're doing.
That's right.
Manage, I was thinking the same way.
All right. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve a change to Article 3, Section 4, hiring rate, starting pay from this language. Additional adjustments up to a maximum of 10% above the entry-level rate may be made at the discretion of the county manager. To change that to this language, additional adjustments up to the maximum of the pay grade may be made at the discretion of the county manager.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. And that passes unanimously. Okay, does anyone else have anything for open session? Commissioners have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session regarding personnel pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 143-318.11A6.
So moved.
All in favor? And that passes unanimously. We are in closed session. Okay, we are back from closed session. We don't have any action after our closed session. Does anybody else have anything else for the board?
Other than it's cold in the courtroom today.
It is cold today. It is. All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.